So welcome to No Stupid Questions.
Hello, everybody.
This week, welcome.
It's for real.
With
for real.
TLeake
like,
and
rah,
JAG.
Like Ketanji JAG. What's up?
No specific order.
I love it.
No Stupid Questions show.
Can we curse on this show?
Just do whatever we
It's for
feel.
real.
Tanya,
Okay.
your question
For
for
real.
today
No.
is
All right.
stupid.
So,
Question.
What's the name of the show, Jay?
No
Jack.
Stupid Questions.
I'm sorry.
Welcome to this episode
My
of
first question is, who are you?
No Stupid Questions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the No Stupid Questions show, the show where you have two smart people and one stupid question, or so we thought. So this is Jag, your host, and my co-host is here, TLeake. How you doing, TLeake?
Hey, people.
That means she's doing great. And she also has our question for today. And that question is,
And the question is in honor of this quite auspicious and historic occasion.
auspicious and historic.
Yes, sir.
I like
Yes,
that.
sir. Yes, better than auspicious and not historic. Or no, I'm sorry. Better than, maybe I'm not doing okay. Better than auspicious, better than not, forget it. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
That is
And
not
I think
tragic.
you'll be doing okay once we get into this.
Can KBJ, what's her name? Do we have like
Justice, I'm going to call her Justice Jackson because that just sounds like a sister girl to me.
JJ? I like JJ. Okay. Can JJ help transform the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court?
I'm going to have to go with yes for that. She can help transform it, but it's going to be I'll just go with yes.
I think that she can influence. I think transform is, as you started to say, a long haul. So I think she can start the process.
She can start the process.
Yeah. Tell me more about why you say yes, because maybe I'm on the fence on this one, but I know when I think transform,
Well, first of all, she is 50-ish. So hopefully she has a long reign on the Supreme Court. You know, the court is leaning in one direction right now, which I don't think is healthy for the court. And I think while leaning in that one direction, pendulum swing, but it does take time for a pendulum to swing. So I think she can, you just say, can she help transform it? So I think she will help transform it eventually. Now, I don't know if that'll be in 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, but I think she will help transform it.
I did say help transform. So given that, I gotta pull it back. It is not the job of one woman alone, and
No.
I don't think it is it's not possible with one woman alone. So to transform it, but I think she can help. You are absolutely right with that. So I am going to answer yes as well, and of course I defer to your family of judges and attorneys in terms of the history. But you mentioned the court leaning. Doesn't the court usually lean because it's an odd number?
It is an odd number. I mean, but historically, you have had justices who, were appointed by one party and their rulings have migrated over time to be more centrist or maybe even what you may think is aligned with a different party. But this court in particular is very conservative. It is, and
We
it's
have a lot of baby justices too, don't we? I mean,
Well, so it is one of the youngest courts. I think it is the first time in 50 years that you don't have anyone over the age of 74 as a justice. And I think average age is one of the youngest courts in a very, very long time.
So I think there's the two newest people in the court certainly could move in a certain direction. I don't know. I want to be optimistic that they will mellow with time and age, but who knows? I don't want to mar this occasion, but we are talking about the court overall, and I got to talk about the other Negro.
Why do we need to talk about the other?
I just want to understand. I actually want to understand more of your opinion about the. I don't know. I feel like people talk about it as a conspiracy, and they talk about it kind of secretively. What is going on with his sort of conflict of interest and with the wife and by the way, for those who don't know, I'm talking about Clarence Thomas and his wife Jenny, who is an extremely conservative and has been, I think, implicated in January 6th. Is that accurate?
Apparently, she participated in email conversations about needing to overturn the election, and even participated in email conversations that led up to the January 6th insurrection, is what I think it was, which puts into question her character, definitely, but also puts into question his rulings when they were trying to decide whether or not to turn over the emails or not. He was the only justice to vote against turning over the emails. And given the fact that the emails included his wife's emails, you may think that was a conflict of interest. Maybe. So that is the controversy that is surrounding him. You may. I mean, everyone doesn't.
No. May you? I'm talking about May JAG.
Do I think it's a conflict of interest? If I were sitting in that position, I would have recused myself, knowing that my wife had participated in some of the subject matter of what they were ruling on.
Okay.
But, he made a decision different from that. And who is to question one of the 9 most, well, obviously one of the highest justices in the land. I mean, he's on the Supreme Court.
Who is to question? Did you just say that?
Yeah, who is to question that? Who is to question that? I mean, he's a lifetime appointment.
He can be impeached. Is that not correct?
He can be removed, and I guess impeached is the right term. Yes, he can, but it's going to take I was about to say an act of Congress. I wasn't trying to be funny.
Well, it will definitely take an act of Congress.
But it would definitely take an act of Congress. And, the political makeup of Congress right now is just not going to happen.
Well, let me, and the reason why I brought that up, and, I am so celebrating this victory in a lot of ways in terms of experience and skill, and to be honest, real calm under fire by JJ.
Justice Jackson, I like it.
I am, one of the things I think about when I think about transforming it, excuse the pun, but the Supreme Court has been to some degree cloaked in secrecy in terms of, how they operate and some of the things that are going on. Lord, my mind is going off to that crazy Congress person that said that the man in the wheelchair, Caldwell. Anyway, so there's a lot of things going on underneath the cloak, and I believe in her integrity, and we'll be very interested to see if that can help transform. I guess that's where I'm going with that. Will she be able to be willing to speak up? A lot of the institution of the court, just as you said, is so revered that it feels like it needs a shakeup in order to transform, and it needs a big one. And I'm just wondering if one of those things is someone who is willing to really not just serve on the court and do kind of the responsibility of, judgments, but also transform it.
Okay. So, it's interesting. You have 4 women justices. You have some very important women's rights cases coming before the court. It's going to be interesting to see how those 4 justices vote. I mean, if they vote along their political lines, you'll have one outcome. I just question whether or not they will always vote along their political lines. I guess I'm one of those people that believe.
Let's just review. Sotomayor.
Yes.
Who's the most senior? Sotomayor.
Sotomayor. That's correct.
Okay. And then
Justice Kagan.
Comey Barrett. And now we've got Brown
Justice Jackson.
JJ.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, and we've got Kagan and Barrett, Republican lines. And again, they're not supposed to be partisan, right?
They're not supposed to be partisan.
But
they're not supposed to be.
But you said if they vote along party lines, what
correct.
Parties would you be putting them into?
As you suggested, Trump brought on Amy Coney Barrett, so you assume she leans a certain way. But wow, did he bring on? Who did he bring on?
Who, Trump?
Yes.
It was Barrett and Kavanaugh.
Correct. No, it was 3. President Obama nominated Elena Kagan, and Trump nominated Coney Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
So you would assume that Sotomayor and Kagan leaned in such a way that a Democratic president would nominate them. So you have...
Okay, go ahead.
So you have 3 women on the court nominated by Democratic presidents, and you have one nominated by a Republican president. I just wonder how over time that Trump nominee is going to perform. It's going to be an interesting question, because I've also thought that the aforementioned Justice Thomas would make us proud at the end of the day, because once he got on the Supreme Court, I figured he had nothing else to front about other than being who I assumed he was, which was the descendants of slaves. And I thought he had leaned a certain way, but he has proved, and maybe has even moved further to the right than anyone thought he could possibly be. So you never know.
Okay, well let's come back to our question, because I agree with you in terms of it'll be really interesting to see what happens, especially with these women's rights cases. But if we go back to our question about what do we think, because that's where I was headed with the conversation about, kind of blowing the top off of and introducing more transparency, in all honesty, to that branch of government, this highest judicial branch.
Which is interesting you say that, but I'll come back to that in a second. Go ahead.
Okay. Now you got me intrigued. Okay, but I guess I was just wondering, what do you think it will take to transform, and what is it that JJ brings that will help that effort? Because that's where my question lies. Like what I said was, it will take this sort of lifting the veil, and it requires more than just, I'm going to be good at judging.
I'm not sure it requires. First of all, what veil? The Supreme Court is not supposed to have a veil. I mean, their opinions are public. They write about them. They write long treaties about why they decide the things that they decide. So what veil are you referring to?
So, and maybe this is just my perception. It's very possible. But I feel like some of interestingly enough, I think that this year, I thought that it was stated that there was a record number of cases where what you just said is for the cases that they decide to hear. So that's one thing. They have to decide to hear it, right?
Correct.
Or they have to decide to even allow it onto their and then they don't have to have an actual trial, right? They can just make a judgment. Is that correct? Because there was what was the one where they decided that they did not have a dog in the fight? I forgot. There was a big so many.
Well, they often decide not to hear cases.
Yes, so that's one. We don't get a lot of information about that. They just say no. Right? 2 is, which I guess maybe in the legal profession you know what that means, but again, layperson that I am, there could be some more transparency and visibility to how is that decided. 2 is when they do decide, my understanding is there are ones that they just do a vote. And they, I'm trying to think. There were two examples of those. And my understanding was in this latest edition of the court, as it is now, there have been a number of those types of sort of non-verbose decisions.
See, I thought that was very rare.
You don't know what the hell I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the examples that you're talking about, because my appreciation is that, except in very rare occasions, there is a oral argument in which each side is allowed 30 minutes to, advocate for their position. Now, the Supreme Court, there's not witnesses and things that you would have at the lower courts, because what the Supreme Court does is they review lower courts' decisions.
Right.
And they do read briefs and they do their own research. That's why the clerks of the Supreme Court are so important and busy and highly coveted jobs. And once you come out of that job, you're assumed to be a very capable and legal expert. But I thought in most cases they did take arguments on the issues. So I guess I'm not familiar with the case you're referring to. Now, it doesn't mean they have to take up arguments, but I think in most cases they do. But you're right. They can decide not to hear a case. And obviously, if they decide not to hear a case, there's not much to be learned from that, other than that they didn't think it was an issue that they needed to take up.
Yeah. So I was just looking at the rules, and so 4 of the 9 justices have to vote to accept a case.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an estimate here that they accept between 100 and 150 of the more than 7,000 cases. As a Stanford alum, I guess I look at it as, we kind of know why somebody might not have gotten accepted. The 100 and 150 applications that got accepted out of 7,000, applicants, but we don't really know. And so for me, that's already a gate that, yes, could they and maybe that's published somewhere. I don't know. But again, that's why I'm saying it would be, all I see in the news certainly is that it was, typically the court hears cases that have been decided. So it does have a typical, either in the appropriate U.S. Court of Appeals or the highest court in a given state, if the state court decided a constitutional issue. And then 4 of the 9 justices have to vote to accept a case, and 5 of the 9 justices must vote in order to grant a stay. And under certain instances, 1 justice may grant a stay pending review by the entire court. So, yeah, I and maybe this is a fault of our civic education, but I do feel like there could be some more visibility to how the wheels of justice turn. I know we've talked on the show before about electing judges. And I feel like judges don't, and maybe this is a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, they don't campaign like other people. But anyway, going back to the question. It depends
on what state you're in, whether or not they campaign or not.
Okay. Well, that's, but the U.S., the ones for the U.S., do they campaign?
The ones for you, they don't campaign. They're typically vetted pretty good. Because no one wants to by the party that does the nominations.
Okay.
It is a highly political process.
Anything, right? So I think that captures what I'm trying to say. Anything that is highly political at this point could stand some transparency, more transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely the highest court in the land is an area where that could be the case.
The hearings were all televised. You get to see everything that transpired in that case.
Yeah.
In that
you and I both
in that nominations process.
In corporate America, know that it's not the meetings, it's the meetings behind the meetings. So let's just be clear on that. So,
but that all goes down to, if people want to participate in the process, if people want to say in the process, they have to vote. Because what it all comes down to is who we elect in office. It doesn't start with the election for Senate, for example, because every senator in the U.S. Senate was some other elected official first. And they all started off probably as some small, not very many constituents, but in some small office where they got elected. So we need to be vigilant about each and every one of those.
So do you think our Supreme Court needs transformation?
Well, that's a good question. Some people say we should pack the court now since it seems to be heavily leaning in a direction different from what the White House would hope for. So some people say add 3 more justices to it, and then you can make it more even. What's that?
What do you think about that?
I'm not in favor of that, only because that really seems like changing the rules. Because if you do that, then the next person in office can add 3 more, and then the next person could add 3 more. It just seems like that's out of bounds. I mean, for example, I do have to thank Mitch McConnell for Justice Jackson's appointment. I think he was instrumental in getting her appointed. And you may say why and how, since he did not vote for her. But while he was trying to get a Republican appointed under Donald Trump, they changed the rules from requiring 60 senators to a simple majority. And if you needed 60 senators, Justice Jackson would not have got appointed this time. So I have to thank Mitch McConnell for that. You know, that's a rule change he instigated 4+ years ago. And, you know, he was trying to do that to get a Republican justice at the time. But if not for that rule change, you would not have Justice Jackson today.
We also wouldn't have had the other judges. And so I agree with that in part. You know, and I do look at that as an example of what can happen with a rule change, and hope that, you know, Congress people look at that, and the people in favor of, you know, packing the court look at that and see that, you know, the tide does change eventually. And so look at what you're doing and what effect it can have, the ripple effect that it can have. But yeah, let's go back. So does the Supreme Court need transforming? So you thanked Mitch McConnell. So another first for this show, but yeah.
Another first for this show. I mean, you gotta be fair, right? So I have to thank him for that.
I told you it had other ramifications too. So I don't know. It's balancing out. I guess that's the closest I can give it.
Well, it probably hadn't balanced out yet, but maybe it will. Give a few more years. From my perspective, the court does need transform. From my perspective, the Supreme Court has not upheld the ideals that this country was supposedly founded on. And, you know, I know that's been a pipe dream for a lot of people since the beginning, since the day that the ideals were put to paper. But I think this particular Supreme Court has not upheld that. And I say that with specific eye towards the voting rights that have been not protected. And I think the Supreme Court has played a role in that.
Mm. Okay.
So from that standpoint, I do believe that the Supreme Court needs to be transformed.
It needs to be transformed in such a way that it honors
what America was supposed to be built on.
Which is?
Supposed to be based on a representative government that responds to the will of the people.
So protecting the core of democracy, which is
the vote.
Representative, yes, the vote.
Right.
Okay. And so if you said yes, you think she can help transform. How do you think she can do that?
By living a long time and making sure she's there when these next couple of justices get replaced. But I also think there is, I guess I'm an eternal optimist. I still believe in people doing the right thing. And maybe she has an opportunity to teach and sway some of her peers in the right direction. So what I'm hoping is she is extremely, I already know she's extremely gifted. There's a show about it, like to hear it. We'll point you to it.
Here you go.
she needs to hire the right clerks. She needs to be vigilant about her writing. And I think hopefully she can appeal to some of the other legal minds that are on the court with her and move all of their decisions to the middle a little bit.
And do you think she is the right person to do that?
I'm hoping she's the right person to do that. I mean, I haven't spent much time in a room with her, so I can't be definite, but everything I've heard thus far is, and what I saw in her Senate confirmations, I think she is very capable of doing that.
Okay. What is it about her that makes you feel confident in that?
Well, I think she has proven that she is calm under fire, that she is a reasoned thinker, and that even in the averse of mean and nastiness, that she can convey her point and be persuasive. And I think that's important in the role that she's in now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Definitely the calm under fire, that sort of cool demeanor. I think, as you and I both know, that kind of comes with the territory, because you straddle this line of being the angry black blank and, or, from a woman's perspective, just, an emotional. So it is something that I think a lot of Black upper level leadership executives in leadership positions have to learn to do. So I trust it and saw that she is versed in that area. Yeah, I think that, I don't know, maybe it's just a gut feeling. Maybe it's nothing that I could point to, the rules that need to be made more transparent or other, but I feel like there are some things that need to be aired out. And maybe it's the whole Clarence Thomas thing that's got me, sort of doubting Clarence. And thinking there's some CO conspiracy that we need to uncover. But yeah, I mean, I hope that.
So what is uncovering the conspiracy going? Because I think you uncovered the conspiracy with.
No, it's interesting, because I think that, what we're seeing with Trump is levels of criminality that maybe some people suspected, but that weren't really known, right? And it was a certain administration, so it didn't have anything to do with the executive branch per se. And I guess that's what I'm saying, exactly what you said, that, this court is not living up to the ideals. And there's a reason for that. And I don't think it's just personality. I'm going to say that. Maybe that's where my, suspicions and desire for more transparency comes from, is that I believe that there is something specifically potentially with this current generation of the court that a spotlight needs to be shown, and we need to learn some lessons and take them under advisement. And it's not packing the court, but there may be some other kind of guardrails that we need to put in place to prevent the situation that we're in. And I think voting is one part of that. But I think there's some other, I guess, forces at work that I don't know, maybe it's a gut thing. And, I trust my gut. So that's where I'm coming from. So can't help you, is a gut thing.
So where do we go from here? What do we hope for? I mean,
you look like you're thinking about that. What do you think about what I just said?
Need more time.
Well, we only got a 40-minute show.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this one up. You're gonna have to ask me that on another show. I mean, it's problematic. We're in a strange place in America right now where, America, in my opinion, is not living up to what America claims it was based on. And you may say, when did it ever? And that's a very good question. But we're supposed to be improving, not getting worse. And, I'm not saying today is worse than 300 years ago, but we're not where we should be. And, sometimes the effort doesn't seem to be there to improve. And that's what's disappointing. And, the court is not immune from that, unfortunately. You would hope the court could be. I mean, the whole reason for lifetime appointments, it was because, everyone knows that if you're trying to be a senator, you need to, get votes. So therefore you yield to the will of the people, which can often be flaky. you know, you have people now running for Senate who tie their hitch to Donald Trump when 10 years ago they thought Donald Trump was crazy and they said it publicly. But because that's what they believe is the best way for them to get in office. But you always thought the court was immune from that. And you always thought that if you give somebody a lifetime appointment, they don't have to worry about being political anymore. They could just do the right thing. Doesn't seem to have panned out. And maybe we will get back to that. And I guess I'm hopeful that Justice Jackson will be a catalyst for other people. And maybe I'm speaking directly to Justice Barrett, but hopefully Justice Jackson would be a catalyst for people to just do the right thing. So yeah, she's going to transform the court. I'm going to claim it here. I'm going to claim it now.
Transform, she's going to help transform.
She's going to help transform it.
Made that distinction for me. So I'm going to ask you the same.
She's going to help transform it. One person can't do it.
All right. I agree with that. I genuinely have hope. I got my Yes We Can posters back out.
Okay.
Now that is
well, y'all need to take care of business in Georgia first. No question about it.
Her her appointment has really inspired me. Yeah, and it does give me sort of hope that things can improve in some of these areas that there has been, you know, some real concern. So I hope that, yeah, it will be the start of a transformation that will be for the good. Yeah, I feel like she is in the old mold that you talked about, which I think is good. And I do want to remind everyone of what we said earlier, which is that these judges come at those levels. It's politics, but before that, it's climbing the ladder with the electorate. And so you got to be present for those judge elections and, you know, find out as much as you can about their records. Vote.
For all elections.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. But you heard it here also. Thank you, Mitch McConnell, for extending the rule change to apply to nominees of the Supreme Court.
I don't know.
In 2017. He didn't know what he was doing, but that's what happens when...
Karma is a B.
There you go.
I think that's what this is. So, Mitch, all I have to say is, I'm not saying thank you. I'm just saying, in your face.
No stupid questions show.
You can ask any question that you want, or don't ask no stupid ass questions.